Skull sock mask. I make most of my sock masks on these here. These are called spray socks. And the spray sock is available from Sherwin-Williams. They're about $2 a piece. I get 6, and they're like $11 for 6 of them. This is what it looks like on the head. It's kind of a small eye hole. It's not big enough for eyes and nose, but you couldn't be a whole face. But, I mean, it's pretty nice. It's a nice flexible material. It stretches. It's got a two-way stretch. So it stretches this way and it stretches this way. Pretty nice. The style of sock mask that I'm doing this particular time is a skull. Here's one of my pulls, but you could do this same thing with a prosthetic, a foam prosthetic, like from Screamline or from anybody who does foam prosthetics. What I'm going to do is I have a couple molds that I make half masks out of. That's one right there. I'll go ahead and back up from it. It's kind of a skull type of mask. And what I have done is I have trimmed one here in a way that I know will go pretty well on the mask. I need to trim the mouth up a little bit more, so I will set up my camera. Just use scissors. When you're cutting, try not to end your cut on just a straight line. If you have a hole punch, I can put a hole punch there. If I just leave that, I can pull it and it'll rip. Or if you can round the end so that when you pull on it, it doesn't have one direction to pull into, that helps keep it from ripping. But you can see how that straight line cut ends in a little round bit. That way it won't rip all the way through. I'm going to do that to the other side. And I'm just basically in one motion trying to cut a circle. If it's jagged, then you got a lot of little points where it can catch. And that's the other side. So now when that mouth opens, it's not going to tear that. Okay. And that's to be a simple matter of gluing the prosthetic onto here with latex, and then blending it in with latex. That's what I'm about to do here. All right, I have already cut one of these. So the mouth is cut, the eyes are cut, and I did some darts, a dart in the head, and a dart is just so that the curve is different on this head form than it is on the mask that I sculpted it on. So to tighten that up, I'm going to fold it together like that. But first thing I want to do, it's important to use a plaster head form, because a plaster head form, the plaster will wick moisture out of the latex. I go through a lot of latex in the shop, so I have a lot handy and I'm fairly messy with it. But I save all of my little drippings and stuff to make organs and things like that. Hey, Mel. Alright, so to get this guy to stick on, I am just painting latex over the areas where the mask hits. It doesn't matter if it's a prosthetic or whatever. If it's a prosthetic, you want to paint a little bit of latex on the inside of the prosthetic, leave it sitting somewhere else, and let it dry a little bit, just the way you always make a latex bond. Let both parts get a little tacky first. Let them get dry. With the mask, it's really not as important because it's made of latex. And here's the one that's already cut. And I just want to line up the eyes. Push down. I'm on a plaster form, so as long as that latex is going through the fabric to the plaster head. The plaster head is pulling moisture out of it, and it's already starting to dry. It doesn't have to air dry, so I don't mind covering it up. It's going to dry from the inside out. Over here, I've got a bit of a flap. I'm going to cut another dart in it, which is just a little triangle piece that I cut out so I can make them meet up, and that'll stop flapping. You could glue on this piece with like a rubber cement or something first. I just use latex because I have it, and to me, I don't have to wait for one thing to dry before I do another. Now I'm loading up my brush a little bit, and I am pulling back against the flap so it pulls latex off of my brush, and I'm filling in that ridge where the latex meets the fabric. And just for paint purposes, because the latex will take paint differently than fabric, I am going to put a lot of latex on the crown here of the fabric and on the back of the head. That way I can just paint this all as one piece. And this isn't going to be, you know, super duper nice. It's going to be a little bit quick and dirty. But I don't want a sock mask for anybody who's in a great lighting situation anyway. Sock masks are for guys who are working and running around and stuff. Nice dark haunted house sets. So, and I'm just going to put some latex around here because I like the texture. It's a way to make it break up. I'm going to smooth out the latex on the skull a little bit. And see, my seam there isn't too bad. This head is tilted slightly to the side, so when the cast was done, because it was made for a severed head, so that's why it looks like it might be askew on there, but that is the head underneath. Plaster head form. Spray sock from Sherwin-Williams, and you can use a cut-up latex mask. You can use a foam prosthetic to go over the face like this, and you can't see good contrast right now because of the colors, but that seam is pretty well down there, and that was a thick-edged mask. You can thicken your latex by putting it in the fridge. If you're still having seam trouble, like right there, I've got a bit of a big seam. If I wanted to thicken my latex by putting it in the fridge, I could then use that thicker latex to fill the seam. I've got some thick latex just stuck on the outside of this jar that I'm going to use. And this is just... I'm... Okay. Alright. I've got to use a popsicle stick also to help smooth out this area. I'm using it kind of like a mini trowel just to get the look that I want. I like leaving the chin not glued down to the sock. I find that if that happens, actors pull on the chin to take it on and off, and it gets separated anyway. If it's not attached, then they listen to me as to how to take it on and off and use the sock itself. So, this is a sock mask in process. I would now leave this to dry for a while, and I might do another layer of latex. And when it gets a little more dry on the out here, the air portion, I'll push this down, and that will stick, and that seam won't be as obvious. See, like this one's stuck now that I've given it a little bit of chance to dry. It'll bond to itself. But, simple skull sock mask.